Cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our 2024 favorite movies.
Yes.
Our 10 favorite movies with several honorable mentions.
Yes.
If we've been to one of these before, we get like 30 views out of this. I don't care. It's something for us to have a conversation about. We see a lot of movies, a lot more than the average person, but we're not film buff nerds who see 180 movies in a year.
Right. And these are not, this movie should win an Oscar. These are our personal favorites.
Our personal favorites. And you'll see a trend of the kind of the movies that we typically like. We did not see Nosferatu. I'm just going to put this out there that until we see that movie, it is very possible there will probably be, it could have been on one of our lists. That is a movie that is typically not our kind of thing, but because of what they are doing in that movie, I think would have been on our list. Just think about Shape of Water, how much we love that movie, and
right
Inside, Invisible Man, and that kind of thing. So that kind of conversation. And there's a bunch of other movies that we didn't see, and I don't care about seeing them.
Right.
Until you're going to pay me to go watch 180 movies a year, which is currently a possibility, then
not
yeah.
saying no.
I'm going to say it's just not going to be our thing. So how we're going to do it is we'll go, she'll run down her honorable mentions. I'll run down my honorable mentions. We'll do 10 to 6, back and forth. And not really like give any details of why those were in our. Maybe we'll give a mention or something.
Brief details.
Brief details, and then we'll do 5 to 1. Spoilers. Our 5 movies might be pretty close to each other.
Maybe.
Probably pretty close to each other.
Although my number 1 is not what you expect it to be.
It's not going to be the one that I went and saw. No? Okay. So your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions. So I have 2 Christmas movies on my honorable mentions this year because typically we don't. Christmas movies tend to be either Hallmark movies or, so there were 2 really good ones. If you didn't see them this year, watch them next year. So That Christmas, which was on Netflix, which is an animated Christmas movie, and Red One. Oh, and then I have 4, sorry. Wild Robot is on my honorable mentions. I really struggled not to put that in my top 10. It's a good movie.
Right. That's the one I didn't see.
That is the one you didn't see. It's good. I mean, I'll watch it again, but he may or may not watch it ever. And Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, such a fun movie. Again, had a really hard time not putting it in my top 10.
Yeah.
But it was a struggle. I kept thinking nothing came out this year. And then I went through the list and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get this to 10?
I did the exact same thing. If we were doing a 20 list, Frozen Empire would have been on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so my 5, I have 5
okay.
Honorable mentions. I also have Red One. We went and saw it in the theater, loved it, watched it at home. I'll go watch it right now.
Several times. Watched it at home.
Yeah. My other Christmas movie, That Christmas, I did not, again, if I was been 20. My other Christmas one was Carry On.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
I really liked Carry On. I really liked what they did with that movie.
Yeah.
And then my 3 other mentionables is Argyle, Monkey Man, and Fly Me to the Moon. Fly Me to the Moon, again, it's not one of our typical movies, but just the tongue-in-cheek rom-com that they did around the moon landing. Just, it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So your number 10.
My number 10 is Blink Twice.
See,
it was good, like Get Out-esque. Movie. My husband may have had a little more of a problem with it just because it was about the bad guy was his demographic, but I really liked like you kind of knew from the beginning, but then all of a sudden you didn't know.
Yeah.
And I liked
I loved that movie. But one of the things we talk about on our reviews and here around here is rewatchability, and that one, like Folie à Deux, is not going to be on my list either. Great movie, loved it. Rewatchability is 0 for me.
Yeah, see, I would watch Blink twice, again and again. And
I did twice, apparently. My number 10 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That was sneakily, I forgot that movie came out this year.
Yes, yeah. When I was doing the list, I was like, "Oh my god, that came out this year too."
Yeah. Your number 9.
This might be controversial, but Furiosa. It's a great movie. For me personally, the Mad Max movies aren't super rewatchable. It was a good movie. Good movie. Yep. But if I'm sitting down on a Sunday afternoon, Mad Max movies aren't really something I'm just going to throw on.
Yeah. We will, however, watch Cinema Wind's breakdown of Furiosa. We'll come back. We'll circle back around to that one. My number 9 was Godzilla X Kong. Right in our wheelhouse.
Yep.
Giant monsters fighting each other. That's it. Fun. Yep. I shoving popcorn in my mouth. You'll be.
And we got Mothra.
Your number 8.
My number 8 is Fly Me to the Moon. Because I liked it, and again, me, I would rewatch it. It's on Peacock right now. I think it's Peacock. Like I would go watch Apple. It right now. One of those. Well, I would go watch it right now.
Yeah. I loved what Channing did between that and Blink Twice and another one that we're going to spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
But the Channing saw the Tatum Massance that's going. I am here for it. He is a very good actor.
He is a good actor.
Just happens to be one of the most handsome people on the planet and can dance his ass off.
Yeah, and doesn't consider himself to be too big or too serious to take some of these smaller.
Very Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Very Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
My number 8 is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And the reason I don't have this higher is because we haven't rewatched it again.
Yes.
And I've tried to buy it and can't find it.
Yes. And that's why it's not on my list.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably is rewatchable for us, but we saw it so long ago. It was good. We really liked it, but like you said, we haven't, it's just not out there. I don't know what the deal is. You can buy it on Amazon or whatever, but we've talked about, we don't like to do that because it could just disappear on you when they decide that you have exceeded your $19.99.
We are coming back around to the physical media thing. We're starting to pick up some stuff that we've missed, and that's one of the ones I want to buy in physical media.
Yeah. It's just we haven't been able to.
Alan Richardson giggling in those glasses.
Yeah.
Gets me every time. Your number 7?
My number 7 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I really I liked the OG Planet of the Apes. I liked the new ones. I have watched all of the other ones multiple times, probably more than you.
Yeah.
And then I think this is just a perfect capper on the whole new series. I
want more of this.
I would like more too, but if they don't do it, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Because it was a good ending. It was a good.
That's been the one thing that they've done with the modern, not the Mark Wahlberg remake.
The
modern ones.
Yeah.
They've done a really good job of telling an individual story. There are some threads we can pull if we wish to continue.
Yeah.
So, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Where are we on? 7?
6. Oh, yeah, 7.
7. My number 7 is Gladiator 2. Gladiator is one of those movies that is Mount Rushmore if you can put 100 movies on it. For me, Braveheart and Gladiator were two of the movies that really emotionally connected to me when I was at the proper age in a hobby that was directly connected to all of that stuff.
Yes.
And I was very hesitant and very low expectations for Gladiator 2. And they told a new Gladiator story that I really love.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I want a Gladiator 3, but if they do Gladiator 3 and it's an IMAX, we'll be there the first day. Just saying.
So it is not on my list. Again, if we had 20, it would be. Just because I feel it's very different than the first one. Like, it could almost not be called Gladiator 2. It could be called something else. And that, for me, just kind of bumped it down a little bit.
That's fair.
I will still absolutely watch it. I just don't feel like you need to watch Gladiator 1 and it's like a Sunday afternoon Gladiator-a-thon. You can watch them individually because they aren't super connected other than,
but
the kid.
But best villain of the year, conversation, Denzel Washington.
Yes.
Number 6. Wait, what are we on?
Six. So this is also going to be controversial.
4, 5, 6. Yes, okay.
But my number 6 is Dune 2. It is an amazing movie. I loved it. Again, Dune is maybe along with the Mad Max series, not exactly something you can just sit down with on in the background. You need to watch them. I would absolutely watch them again. That's why it's on my top 10. It just pushed it down a little bit.
Yep. I get that. We'll come back around.
Okay.
My number, what are we on? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4,
6.
5, 6. Okay, I'm making sure I didn't number mine for some apparent reason. My number 6 is Furiosa. Like, all the things that you just said about Furiosa is 100% like where I am. It's a little bit higher on my list, but just because George Miller did Babe.
Yeah.
And Fury Road and Furiosa, and I may have a small crush on Anna Taylor-Joy. Like, it's
shocker.
Right. She's just the right amount of weird and pretty at the same time. So whatever. Okay, so our top 5. We'll spend a little bit more time talking about them, about why we love them. Not that we are not already doing that.
Right.
Your number 5.
My number 5, again, controversial. My list is just full of controversy. Deadpool & Wolverine.
At 5?
At 5.
Okay. Yeah.
I just sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, I love the movie. I love what they did. I love, just bringing in the kind of Island of Misfit toys, Island of Misfit
Fox characters.
Superheroes. Yep. Loved it. We've rewatched it. I don't know how many times already. Yeah. It got bumped down for a little bit of superhero fatigue. There were some other movies that were a little more original that I pushed up higher on my list.
That's fair. Well, I'll circle back around to that. But I that's really fair. Like, it was really the only Marvel movie we got this year outside of Madam Web and Kraven, which the Sony ones I just don't count anymore because they
so bad.
They're just they don't know what they're doing. And we got some DC stuff, but I get it was specifically made for the fans of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's not an approachable to bring somebody in who's never watched a superhero movie.
Right.
And I get that. I totally get that. But that's... but I will have more to say when we get further down the list.
I mean, I loved it. I just, like I said, I felt that there were some other more original movies out there that are going to score higher for me.
I get that. So you're... fixed.
5.
We got new phones and...
It's not an Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh, but it worked. My number 5 might surprise you. Quiet Place, Day 1.
Wow. I didn't think you'd put that on your top 10.
I might have a small crush on Lupita Nyong'o. And the cat. And Frodo. I don't do horror. We've talked about this in the past. I don't typically do horror, but sci-fi horror, specifically alien invasion, is one of my favorite. Sci-fi is one of my favorite genres anyways, but sci-fi invasion I really love that concept of what that is. And when they did Quiet Place, I wanted them to go I want them to do a series of all the other areas and how they are living their
countries
lives.
Or
an anthology series where everybody's like dealing with it. But when they announced they're going to go back and do the Invasion Day and being in New York, and I love Cloverfield for much of the same reason, the claustrophobia that you get being in New York with big giant monsters running around and just Joseph Quinn showing that, oh my God, that what he did as Eddie Munson isn't a fluke. He's a really good actor.
Yeah, he is.
And Lupita just being the cancer patient and just everything they did in that, the way it's shot, it's so well done.
Yeah.
And it's just, it hit perfectly for me. That's exactly the type of movie I wanted for a day one story.
Yep.
Not a big, long, let's have them all figure it out, because we as the audience know.
Right, we know 3 years from now where that's all going.
Yeah, so we don't need to go back and say, like, here's the people figuring it out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Give us the attack and then the instant ramifications of that.
Yep.
And it hit for me.
Yep, absolutely.
Your number 4?
My number 4 is A Quiet Place Day One. for everything that you said. Yeah, it was, again, I could just... A Quiet Place, strangely enough, is a marathon. I could sit down and watch them all in order very easily. The only thing that would make 2 and 3 any better is if John Krasinski somehow could have been in them.
Right.
Well, he is in 2.
He's in 2 for a little bit.
At the beginning. Yeah. But, I love John Krasinski. I think he's an amazing human being. So I want him to be in everything.
He's a national treasure.
He is.
I watched a clip of him from Jack Ryan, and today on TikTok. We still have TikTok for another 10 days.
We'll see.
But they showed a clip from Jack Ryan. I forget how good of an actor he is, because he's amazing in Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
And it's completely different than what he did on The Office or what he did in Quiet Place or the directing he did in Quiet Place and that kind of stuff.
Yep. So he's a great actor and a nice person.
Yep. My number 4, we're on 4.
4,
right?
yes.
My number 4 is The Fall Guy.
All right.
Again, a movie we've watched multiple times. We have been on the mountaintop saying there should be an Oscar for stunt performers. To have this movie be a love letter to stunt performers and the original TV show. Lee Majors makes a cameo at the end.
Yep.
Ryan Gosling is a great actor, and having him play this kind of rough and tumble kind of version of himself, not being the lead, just everything. Hannah is in it. Like I just loved all the practical fights and all the practical stunts.
Crying in the truck to Taylor Swift, right? or Britney. Taylor Swift is just awesome.
It's so good.
It's awesome.
It's so good. I love that movie.
Yep.
And on any other day, it might be in a different spot on my list, like higher up or lower up. Just when I was putting my list together, I'm like, Fall Guy. This is a movie that should have crushed at the box office.
I know. And nobody
saw it, and everybody went and saw it on digital when it came out, and they were like, "This is amazing."
Uh-huh.
Now we're doing the top 3, right?
Top 3.
Now number 3.
So my number 3 is Twisters. I like the movie. Much to my daughter's chagrin, she refuses to watch it. I like the movie. It's rewatchable. It's the original Twisters. It's Armageddon. It's Deep Impact. Just if it's on TV, we are going to watch it forever. Like if it's on and we're flipping through channels,
like the original Twister.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Twister, like Armageddon, like Deep Impact.
I see what you think.
If it's on and we're flipping through the channels, that's where we're gonna stay and watch it.
Yeah.
So number 3.
Yeah, we'll come back around to that. My number 3 is Dune Part 2.
All right.
I have done a deep dive into Dune, not what some other people have done. I can't sit there and talk about the 50 different houses and all that kind of stuff. And I've read some of the comics, doing some of the backstory that Frank Herbert's son has been writing. But I'm a Star Wars fan. Star Wars took a lot of inspiration from Frank, and George took a lot of inspiration from Frank. And Frank was cool with it, and just. Again, it's sci-fi. Sci-fi's my thing, that kind of thing.
It's definitely the best renditions of the story thus far. Hopefully, they're going to make the next one. I haven't heard.
Denis wants to do Messiah.
Right, and I haven't heard if it's been.
He has been greenlit to do the third one.
Oh, okay.
Just there was talk that he wanted to do something else first.
Right, a palate cleanser or whatever.
Yeah, or something. And then I think it was like November. Warner Brothers was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do Messiah next?" And he's like, "Well, I have stuff written down already, so it might be coming."
Yeah.
Timothée Chalamet is becoming one of those actors that I'm excited to see on the screen.
Yeah.
The only reason I wanted to see the Bob Dylan movie this year was because Timothy was in it.
Yeah.
I have zero. I care nothing for Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
I don't. His music doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Him as a person doesn't do anything for me. But I was interested in Timothée Chalamet playing this currently still living historical figure.
Yeah.
And so I just what he does as Paul, is so powerful. And as much as I loved Kyle MacLachlan's version of Paul, there's a power behind Timothy that I just somebody that size shouldn't have that much power.
Right.
And he just oods this oods.
Oods.
Ood. He just has this arrogance without being cocky in that movie.
Yeah.
That Paul has to have. And it hit me. It just hit me.
Yeah.
And it's visually amazing because it's Denis Villeneuve.
It is. It is. And if you have an IMAX screen in your house, then you could watch it over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Your number 2.
My number 2, you're going to feel a theme. My number 2 is Argylle.
Nice. Nice.
I again, for a while, like forever, if Argylle shows up on TV and we're flipping through the channels, we're gonna stop there. Yeah. And it was a fun movie. I was very hesitant. I was like, what? Like, so many people are in it, and you're like, it's got to be good, right? Except, why is Bryce Dallas Howard running around with a cat in a backpack? You know, like you saw the previews, the trailers and stuff, and you're like, I don't know, but we have the opportunity to go see a lot of movies, and so we went and saw it, and I love it. It's so much fun. And
Henry Cavill.
There Superman. Henry Cavill and his high
flat top.
It's not a high and tight. It's a very high flat. Oh my god. Yeah.
And that's the second best haircut he has in the entire movie.
Right. The one at the end is even better.
I'm not. It's on Apple Plus. We might get done here and go watch that.
Okay.
I'm totally down with that. It got panned by everybody.
All right.
And I think a lot of critics and film punditry people are so in the it has to be Citizen Kane or it's shit
right
conversation that I think that a lot of people lost the fun of going to movies.
Yeah.
And
storytelling.
And storytelling. And Matthew Vaughn has that figured out.
Yeah.
That oversaturated color, stylized storytelling that is the Kingsman is one of those things that I think movies have lost.
Yeah.
And that's why Argylle and the Ministry of Ungenderly Warfare with Guy Ritchie.
Oh.
and Guy Ritchie, also with Henry Cavill. That over stylized kind of storytelling has a place.
Yeah.
And movies like these two, Fall Guy, that got panned by critics, are what we love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that Argylle's on your list. I'm surprised it's so high on your list. but I totally understand.
It was a year of smaller movies for me that I that's just
yeah. Yeah,
just where I'm at.
I get that. My number 2 is Twisters. We bought it. We've watched it 4 times now. The behind the scenes stuff is so cool because they went storm chasing.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell is quickly becoming one of those people I hate because he's nice, he's talented, he's good looking. I want to strangle him.
He takes his parents with him everywhere.
Right. Like he's like you're a perfect person. Stop it. I really Twisters is a religion in our house. Twister is religion in our house. Yep. And we watch storm chasing shows like but for what to when they announced it, why are we going back?
Yeah.
To tell this story. And it's much the same conversation we were just having with Argyle and all that kind of stuff. That it's fun to go to the movies and watch the spectacle of movie making.
Yeah. And Twisters, even though the name kind of makes you think that it's a sequel,
yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of nods to the original, but that was 25 years ago that the original came out, and storm chasing has dramatically changed.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to kind of go back and see what it looks like now.
And I love that they address that with the storm chasing tours and the mom and pop guys doing it on their own.
Yep.
We actually know storm chasers.
Yeah, we know.
We know guys who are gone for half the year because they're off in the Midwest chasing tornadoes.
Yep.
And so, it's just, it hit me in all the right places for a movie that I wasn't sure about, like Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we telling this story? Oh, I get it. Once you go and you see it and you get it, it's just, I'm here for it. Your number 1?
My number 1 is The Fall Guy.
Yeah. For the same reasons that we just talked about earlier.
Yes. Yep. Again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of my 10 are smaller movies. Not Dune 2, not Furiosa, not Deadpool and Wolverine. And I loved all those movies too. But I just, like I've said, The Fall Guy comes on TV from now until forever. We will stop and we will watch it.
Yeah.
And the rewatchability was also a big thing on mine this year. So.
Yeah, same.
So,
David Ziskinsky, so I can never say his last name, who was a stunt performer for Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
Has become a pretty prolific
director.
Storyteller and director. Yeah. To have him just have to have a studio go behind him and say, "Yeah, we'll do this."
Yeah.
It helps that he has Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling in the door as he goes to the studio.
Yeah, yeah. But it was awesome that they were able to highlight all of the actual stunt people. Like, stunt people got to show their real face.
And had lines.
On screen, had lines, had things they were doing that directly reflect what they do kind of behind the scenes, or with a wig on or whatever, and it had this kind of fun little story of what was going on. I mean it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah. And Hannah Weldingen, I can never say her last name.
Wellington?
I think it's Wadington. It's WADDINGTONXYZ upon Kent. Her with that giant black wig and a Diet Coke with a straw the entire time.
The whole time.
Just makes me giggle. Like, why is this so funny? It should not. It's just the aesthetic of it is just not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. My number 1 is Deadpool Wolverine.
Shocker.
I could have switched between this and Twisters. It's back and forth either one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Blu-rays. They're sitting right there. Actually, no, they're sitting out there. The reason Deadpool and Wolverine for me was my favorite movie of the year was I was not a comic book kid. I was a sports kid who spent my time at the sports card shop and not the comic book shop when I was of that age. No one around me was an actual comic book person.
Right.
So I wasn't introduced to Doctor Who or Marvel Comics or Doctor Strangelove or like all that kind of stuff that I should have been getting until I was much older in life and they started making this stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
And part of that was the X-Men, the Fox X-Men universe. And I got sucked into that X-Men universe. I know I'm going to say something highly controversial around here. Apparently that's going to be our thing around here today. I liked the 2 Fantastic Four movies that they did. Not the rebooted one that they did later on. The 2 smaller story ones that they did. I didn't read the comics, so I had no emotional connection to the reads and the first family of Marvel, and so them and Storm and Magneto and just learning about the X-Men themselves through these movies with Patrick Stewart, who is somebody I already loved because of Star Trek. It always comes back to sci-fi.
They were your gateway into comic book people, characters and stuff
like that. So having this movie, this Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and have it be like the capper on that story, to have Deadpool's irreverence to everything around him, but also paying homage to everything that they did, just hit me in the feels. It's dumb that Deadpool and Wolverine was my feel-good, like my emotional support thing for the year. That was the movie that I got the most emotional about because of everything I was just talking about. I joked on TikTok that the best 2 performances we got this year was Patti LuPone and Agatha All-Along and Hugh Jackman in Deadpool and Wolverine. Just the speech that him and Wade have in the van, the Odyssey, the Honda Odyssey, just that back and forth they have before that big fight inside the van shows that, hey, Hugh Jackman is a really good actor. That's why Logan worked so well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's questioning Hugh Jackman at this point after several of the movies that he's done.
Oh, yeah.
But he can act. It kind of is a tribute to Ryan that he can, because I know he helped create the movie, that he can create a movie, a comic book movie that still allows its characters to have those moments and to show that they can act. Yeah. And not just be pew pew and
Yeah.
Shing shing.
Yeah. Go watch New Rockstar's breakdown of the X-Men universe, and they did their shing shing every time they started the video. But I just, Sean Levy is becoming one of my favorite directors. He does a bunch of stuff. I loved Free Guy was one of my favorite movies when the year it came out.
Yep.
I even liked the Adam Project a lot that year. And he's done Stranger Things. He's one of the big directors on Stranger Things and all that kind of stuff. So I just really appreciate what they did in that movie. It's shot so well. They had to deal with the writers and actor strikes, and they still got everything done.
Yep.
I really appreciate what they did. There is some we talked about it earlier. There's a ton of other movies that we just didn't see this year.
Yep.
And that is no fault of the industry or anything else. It just there's kind of this weird lull. Part of it was the strikes. part of it too was, Marvel took a step back and is doing a little bit of a reorganization about what their storytelling is going to be. The same with Star Wars.
But there was a lot of smaller
movies. And that's kind of what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, and we still recorded 35 movies.
35 reviews. Yeah,
and 35 reviews, and that's not including all the stuff that we watched on Netflix and Apple. And
yeah,
HBO.
like Carry On, we didn't do a review for, and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think a lot of people talked about how the top 10 grossing movies this year were sequels, and that's because I'm not gonna lie. Like, we're in a very special position because of the A-list. We could see 3 movies a week, so we could take risks on movies. But if you're a family of 4 or 5, you're going and you have 2 teenagers and a 12-year-old, you're going to wait for the Marvel movie or the Star Wars movie or the Harry Potter movie. You're going to wait for that big franchise thing that before you go take a risk on Fall Guy or Argyle or something like that. And so I understood why all of the movies that did very well this year were sequels to previous movies.
Right. Especially when, like you said, the critics panned a lot of Argyle, the Fall Guy. The critics panned that, so if you don't have something like the A-list, you're not gonna spend your money to go see those.
Yeah,
and then they come out on some sort of streaming service, and everybody's like, "Hey, that was actually pretty good."
Yeah, I've seen a lot of conversations around a lot of those movies this year, where people are like, "Oh, this was actually really good."
Yeah. Which makes me angry that critics end up having that kind of sway over these smaller movies.
And I understand there is a platform and a use for critics. There really is.
Yeah, I guess
Siskel and Ebert made a career out of being critics on TV for years and years and years, and even they said they got things wrong.
Yeah,
but I think with the way the modern have a hot take conversation on the internet to get clicks, that has really damaged the critical thinking of art on the screen,
right?
TV or movies. And I think that a lot of people are like, if this doesn't blow my socks off or is Citizen Kane, then it's not worth spending any time on.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of people that I follow who are very honest about, hey, this didn't hit for me. Here's why it didn't hit for me, but it's going to hit for other people.
Yeah.
Those people are people that I'm more willing to listen to than somebody coming around and saying, this was terrible because it's not the best thing ever and it didn't have 17 different cameos of different people showing up.
Yeah.
And it was also one of those years, like, for me personally, like, Deadpool and Wolverine and Twisters, like, blew my socks off. Everything else was, I really, really like this. It wasn't Northman and Dune and everything all at once and like 7 movies that, like, oh my god, what did I just see?
Yeah, like you're struggling to pick a number 1 out of 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Oh my god, movies.
And that might be a little bit on us too, because we didn't see Anora, we didn't see some of these other kind of movies that Nosferatu, that kind of thing. But it's also I want to go do things. So as much as I love going to the movies, there was a couple times this year where we did back-to-back nights.
Yep.
And I love going to the movies, but when we have 8 movies in May.
Yeah. We're going on Friday and we're going on Saturday, or we're going on Thursday night and Friday night, or
yeah. And it's going to be like that this year because we have 4 Marvel movies coming out next year, and and a whole bunch of other stuff that we're really looking forward to. So I guess I just want to kind of talk about that because the movie industry, the production, the making of movie and TV is in a very weird spot right now, and actors and writers fought to get proper recognition for their work. And out of that, the producer's lesson was, well, then we're just not going to make anything.
Yeah.
unless we know it's going to make $1 gazillion.
Yeah.
We're not going to take a risk on anything.
Yeah.
And it's A24 and Blumhouse kind of places who are going to pick up the slack. Just look at what Wolfman's going to do.
Yeah.
Wolfman's going to blow everybody's doors off because it's A24 and it's a real small budget movie.
So to hit on that real quick and then be done. I saw a picture from the Golden Globes last night of a tally board that was up in the theater. So it wasn't something that you could necessarily see on TV.
Right.
Somebody took a picture of it, of the production companies and their tallies for the wins.
All right.
So it was like Netflix was number 1 with 4, Hulu, it might have been Hulu/FX was like number 2 with like 2, and then it was like A24, and it was all these, HBO was on there. They had like 1, so like these, Universal and Warner Brothers aren't even in the conversation.
Yeah.
So they need to look at that. They need to think about
that. We did not talk about Wicked because Wicked just wasn't a thing for us.
It was great. It was visually great. It was an amazing movie, but it's not personally something that's on my top 10.
Not top 10. They had the most Golden Globe nominations and 0 wins.
Yeah.
And we can do a whole rant on the Golden Globes, but there's a example of a studio taking a known property, taking a risk on a known property, doing a big thing, and it did very well in the box office, but not as well as everything else did.
Yeah.
And the theater nerds went and saw it, and like the 5 people like us who had the A-list and went and did it.
Yeah.
And then it's just one of those like the lessons that that producers are learning and production companies are learning is that it's not worth it to take these kind of risks.
Or just make a smaller movie.
And that's and
you don't have to spend $200 million to make a movie.
I have a pitch. It's a $35 million movie. We can film it in 18 days. I'm not kidding. I have a pitch. I have an outline. I have a story. It's relevant for today. Just somebody call me. A24, call me. I will tag you below. I have a pitch for a movie that is relevant for today that can be made for a reasonable price. And the actors that I want aren't going to be asking for $20 million and 10 points in the back end. Like there's a story to be told right now that needs to be telled. This is a great way of selling this. So let us know what you thought of our list this year and our little conversation about the movie industry in the comments down below. If you're on the Spotify side, please follow us here. Again, leave us a comment. If you're on the YouTube side, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And then we're on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram,
Blue Sky.
I did it for so long the other way. We're still on TikTok. We're still posting on there. I'm also writing for the Geekery. I may actually do my top 10 movies of the year as an article. It's timely. I will put the Geekery tag in the description down below too. Follow us there because if I get enough people liking my articles, there could be something that's in the works for me that I never thought was actually physically possible. I tried for several years to go to an event, and it looks like I have a chance to go. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Until next time, cult members, Happy New Year. Go to the movies. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.